Well, hello there, everybody. My name is Mike Affelberg with United Way, and I would like to welcome you to another episode of Living United with Nashua Business. Living United with Nashua Business is a TV show where we talk about and interview local entrepreneurs, local business owners, and talk about their businesses and talk about philanthropy. What do they do in the community? How do they give back? How do they make our community a place which is stronger, smarter, safer, healthier, and happier for all of us who live and work here? So today I'm super excited. I can't tell you how excited I actually am to have a good friend of mine finally in front of the television after all of these years of knowing him, Dr. Brandon Lenatsis from Blue Zone Health. Dr. B, welcome to our show. It's so good to have you here today.
Thanks, Mike. It's pretty awesome to be here.
Well, I was thinking about this before the show, and I thought, how long have Dr. B and I known each other? It's been a while. God, it's got to be something like 15 years ago, maybe 10 to 15 years ago, where you walked through the door of our store.
Yep.
When my wife and I owned Educational Outfitters, and said, I'm thinking I need some T-shirts for my chiropractic business, which was Nashua Family Chiropractic.
Yep.
And so we did that for you. And you were working with your dad at the time. And then from there, you started coming to our BNI group, and then I went to work at United Way, and here we are, all those years later.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
So it's great. It's great to see how you have grown and progressed. I want to talk about that today.
Cool.
So you just changed the name of your business, to Blue Zone Health.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really great place for us to start, because the term Blue Zone Health, it's not just a name, right? It's a name which actually implies something.
Right.
So what is Blue Zone Health? What do you do, and what is a Blue Zone even?
Cool. So I want to be clear that I did not coin the term Blue Zone. That was
Gotcha.
Dan
Okay,
Butner,
understood.
Who he writes and photographs for National Geographic. But they did this study about places around the world where people live exceptionally long, vibrant lives. And one of my first days of chiropractic school, one of our professors had us watch his TED Talk about blue zones. And it just blew my mind. This is what's possible for humanity. Why aren't we doing this? None of these places had what we would call exceptional healthcare or anything like that. But here's 100-year-olds rowing their boats, fishing, sailing, riding their bicycles to the market, working in their garden. How come we don't know about this, and how do we get that? So that's what really inspired the name, and that's what the vision of Blue Zone Health is to revolutionize healthcare in our community and get us closer to a place where we're living longer, stronger, happier, healthier lives.
So what are some of the factors that go into creating a blue zone? Let's just imagine that Nashua and the greater Nashua community becomes a blue zone. How many blue zones are there around the world?
So, I don't think that we officially know that. They've studied the ones where the demographics met a certain criteria, a certain percentage of a community, and these are geographical or ethnic or cultural or religious communities, and then they picked them, and really the reason these are called blue zones, the reason they coined it, they were looking at a map and circling potential areas, and they circled it with a blue marker, and that's how Blue Zone was born. So it's the concept.
It's as simple as that. It was a blue marker.
Yep. Okay. And I was just so inspired by that. And I think that's what's possible for humanity, and that's why we did it. A lot of the things that they have in common are things that we're trying to implement into our practice of healthcare at Blue Zone Health. So, number one, belonging to a community, something bigger than yourself, whether that's the people in your village or the people at your church or, in your neighborhood or whatever it is, but belonging to something that's bigger than yourself, right? Things like being mindful and taking time to unwind or relax or meditate. Of course, the food that we eat is a huge factor in how healthy we stay. Interestingly, drinking wine with dinner is one of the common factors of most blue zones.
And probably in moderation.
Yeah, certainly moderation. Yes. And moving.
Sadly, I'm going to have to just say in moderation, because I think we'd all like to grab a whole bottle of wine.
That's a good point. Glass of wine, usually pretty organic, usually homemade in most of the cases in these areas. And one of the other biggest components is how we move our bodies. Right? Not living a totally sedentary lifestyle. A big factor in most of the blue zones is that their lives are not don't involve a commute and sitting at a desk every day. It has a lot more to do with, your job usually pertains to your existence, right? Fishing, gardening, etc.
Yeah.
So natural movement is built into their lifestyle. But of course, that's not a reality for a lot of us, but we're trying to teach people how to supplement that movement. And it doesn't always mean you need a gym membership.
So your practice at Blue Zone Health, I simplify this to oversimplify this. People will say, "Where are you going this afternoon?" I say, "I'm going to my chiropractor. It's Dr. B down at Blue Zone Health." But you're my chiropractor, but your practice is so much more than that.
Yeah.
What are some of the, disciplines? What have you built there that you wouldn't find at your typical just chiropractor?
Sure. So, earlier this year when we changed our name to Blue Zone Health, that's really what sparked the change in our different providers. So we have chiropractic care, we have primary care, we have massage therapy, we have acupuncture, and we have a mental health therapist. So we're trying to cover all the bases of, what could you need? And if we were doing all of this right, maybe you don't need too much emergency care, barring, accidents. And of course, there's nothing we can do about that. In addition to that, we've started several initiatives, and this is really where the community building piece of it and what really lights my fire is out back. I don't even know if you've seen it, but we have a 3,000 square foot community garden, which is one of our pride and joys. And we've got a pretty vibrant gardening club and community, and we just come together and we learn from each other and work in the garden and pull weeds together and just connect on a different level. We're getting exercise, we're getting sunshine, we're creating good, healthy, organic food. It's just wins all the way around. We also have senior chair yoga twice a week. We have a prenatal yoga program. We have a walking club. We're just trying to create things, communities around healthy activities to bring people together and improve their health.
And so what sort of results are you seeing?
So far, it's pretty great. And it's really interesting how a patient evolves within our practice. Somebody will come to a massage therapist, for example, and say, "Oh, I didn't know you had chiropractic. I'd like to see the chiropractor." Or, I'm looking for a primary care provider that is a little more receptive to my personal healthcare values, right? And we certainly have that. And then they go to the gardening club or the yoga club, whatever. And it's amazing to see. I think the biggest result, besides like personal health stories, we have success stories every day, and that's awesome. But one of the coolest things that I see, we've all been to the waiting room, right? And what do we see in the waiting room? It's a bunch of people on their phones. The thing that just like makes my heart happy is when I can hear people who don't know each other conversing and laughing together in the waiting room. And that's a big deal for me. And I think that's a result that, it's just speaks for itself, but it's pretty cool.
That's great. Now your practice is in a new location. You moved a couple of years ago from more sort of downtown Nashua near our offices to down here off of Exit 5. Bigger space, more central.
Yeah, exactly. So we went from 900 square feet and a very questionable parking lot to we have about 5,000 square feet.
Yeah, I slipped once or twice in that parking lot.
Yeah.
Thankfully on the way in.
yeah, right, exactly. That was all part of our plan, Mike.
Well, it worked.
So a lot bigger. We're able to serve more people. We're able to host events and bring people together.
That's really great. Well, I love seeing this growth, and I know you're a pretty humble guy, and I know that we talked before the show about how should you even present yourself, and I think you're the inspiration and the vision behind Blue Zone Health. I know you say you didn't coin the term Blue Zone, but you definitely involved this concept and this vision for your practice. I think that's pretty great. So congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. It's been a fun journey.
Speaking of events, you recently had a community event. You've done that a couple of times.
We did. I think this was our 8th Fall Festival of Gratitude. It's our annual fall festival. And we do a chili cook-off. And, this evolved from a few of us getting together in the parking lot in Halloween costumes to we had over 200 people and a massive chili cook-off. And And
How was the chili cook-off this year? Because I'm sad that we missed that.
Yeah, it was pretty
I had
awesome.
really bad heartburn last year, but that is not the reason we weren't there.
Yeah.
I would totally go back for that reason alone.
Yeah, it was a big hit, and interestingly, the number one chili, this is all voted on by the people who show up, was a raw vegan chili. Something I had never,
Interesting.
didn't even know it existed, but it
Yeah.
was terrific, and
So it's like
everybody else thought so.
bouillabaisse chili.
Yeah, it was
Wow.
pretty cool. Yeah.
I'm sad that I missed that, but
Yeah.
maybe they'll be back next year since they were the winners.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure they will
Okay.
be.
And you also had a dunk tank. That
We
was
did.
new, and
We
that was
did.
a fundraiser.
It was, yeah. That was a lot of fun, and huge thank you to my friends and fellow local business owners that volunteered to do that.
I think Jason Hendricks from
Jason Hendricks from OPT.
did.
We had Medina Gauthier, who owns Mint
Mint
Printworks.
Printing, one of our partners as well.
Yep, and Eric Fasciani that owns Primal Athletics and several CrossFits in the Greater Nashua area.
Fabulous. And it was all just like, dunk the chump.
They showed up, and in addition to the dunking, our friends at Taggart Ice donated 250 pounds of ice. And for $20, you could add 5 pounds of ice. So at the end of the day, there was less than 50 pounds of ice left. So the water was pretty cold.
That's harsh. Last year, our sleep out was in November. And I know exactly what you mean because I woke up at like 3 a.m. and it was like 26 degrees out or something. I was like, yeah, this is really uncomfortable. But, that resonates with people. Like, what can I do to torture Dr. B?
Yeah.
So
I couldn't believe how many people turned out to.
So I want to say the big check, which is part of it's a prop today, but I did bring this and I wanted to just use this as a way to recognize and thank you. As a result of that particular fundraiser, you were able to raise over $2,000, $2,081 as a donation to United Way. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to thank you for that.
Yeah, no, it's
So
my pleasure. And this is checking a bucket list item off. I've always wanted to give away a big check. So thank you for this
I got to tell
opportunity.
you, Ben Moray at ePrint, one of our friends, talk to Ben. He'll make you a big check.
I'm gonna
of your
have to
very
get
own.
one,
It's
yeah.
a right on wipe off thing.
Brilliant.
But let me tell you what we're going to use this for. We, every couple of years, make grants in the community to local nonprofit organizations, including the Youth Council, which I know you guys have been involved with. And those grants, those organizations end up making up what we call our safety net in the community. It's really all the organizations who come together to make sure nobody falls through the cracks, that everybody has the opportunities to have access to the building blocks of a good life. And I felt like there's nothing more appropriate than to use these funds to help make those grants.
Cool.
So we are super appreciative of that.
Cool. Well, that's very close to my heart, and my wife is heavily involved with the Youth Council of Nashua, and
A fantastic
this means
organization.
a lot to me. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, no, it means a lot to us too. So thank you. Now, there are other ways in which you get involved with the community, and I just wanted to make sure we talked a little bit about that. You, as a business owner, I think sometimes in our society we tend to think that business owners are all about making money, and nonprofits are all about doing good, and there's no real crossover between these two. And that couldn't be further from the truth. As a business owner, you're putting your heart and soul into the thing you're doing, but you're doing it for a reason, and some of your reason is to help support your community.
Yeah.
What are some of the ways in which you do that?
It's funny. I always tell my patients when we're talking about things like this, if I was in this for the money, I would have gone to dental school.
Yeah, well,
Not chiropractic school.
I would probably not be running a nonprofit for the record.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right. It's twofold, right? If we're going to make a real change, our vision statement for Blue Zone Health is to revolutionize healthcare in our community. So trying to create a healthier, stronger, more vibrant community is what we're here to do. I have found, in my career that being focused on that vision, everything else business-wise seems to fall into place. So, that's the biggest thing is we're driving and pushing towards, raising the vibration of our community and creating a healthier community. But on top of that, really through the United Way, you've given us some pretty cool opportunities. I've climbed down the Brady Sullivan Tower several
More than
times.
once.
Yeah. I think we're going to do it again. We
Nobody
have
says that very willingly.
some of our staff is very committed to conquering their fears and really wants to do it. So
Well, you guys have been involved with our National Nor'easter Run. In
Yep.
particular,
that's
your
right.
Dr. Johanna
Yes, exactly. Yep.
has been great.
We one time this whole staff we went and did the food packaging event, and that
Right.
was a ton of fun. And it sounds funny, but like a lot of times this is almost like selfish motivation to do this because it's just so fun and satisfying and gratifying, and we know we're being part of helping our community, and it doesn't feel like work, you know.
It's funny you say that. I mean, we had a group of volunteers. I had a group of volunteers from Liberty Utilities on Thursday of last week. It was just them, and they did their own food packaging event, which we partner with them. It was about a dozen employees, and they put together about 10,500 meals, breakfasts, a couple of hours, and I think they got so much out of that. I think they might have gotten like so much more than we got out of it. We got a lot of great meals for the community, but they got a really great feeling out of it. So.
Yeah, for sure. And you know, if you're a business owner and you're watching this, a community volunteering event with your team is, you know,
So it's team building.
it's team building, big time, and it's pretty awesome. And we make sure to do it at least once a year.
Yeah, we're appreciative of that and thankful for that. I do want to talk a little bit about switching back, not to the practice and not to philanthropy, but can we talk about chiropractic care for a minute?
Sure,
I
absolutely.
think this is your area of expertise.
Yeah, I know a thing or two.
So let's do the 30,000 foot, 2-minute spiel on what is chiropractic care. The one that you gave me so many years ago that really has, in many ways, changed my life.
Yeah.
Why chiropractic care? What does this do for you? How is this approach to health care, unique, different, and beneficial?
Sure. It's a very holistic approach to health, and it's holistic in terms of it being natural, and it's holistic in terms of we're looking at the whole body here, right? So many people are interested to find out that their headaches aren't actually happening in their head or because of their head. Sometimes it's because your pelvis is off and you're walking funny and then you're carrying your neck funny. Anyways, 30,000 foot view, there's 70 trillion-ish cells in our bodies, right? And every single one is controlled and regulated, and their function is harmonized by your brain and your central nervous system. So the vast majority of my thousands of hours of education were on anatomy, physiology, and neuroanatomy and physiology. And understanding how the communication happens between your brain and your body back up to your brain. And it's a feedback loop, right? Like my finger here, my brain is telling my finger to wiggle. At the same time, I don't need to look at my finger to know that my finger is wiggling because my finger is talking to my brain saying, I'm wiggling right now, right? And if we have any interference to that through a shift in our spine, right? A structural shift can interfere with that communication between your brain and your body. And if it's going to my finger, maybe I don't know where my finger is in time and space. Or if it's going to my colon, maybe I have dysfunction. Or if it's going to my low back, maybe I'm having some pain or dysfunction happening. So our job is to identify where there might be these structural shifts called the subluxation present in somebody's spine and find out what's potentially causing that or did cause it, and then how to fix it. So we do a really thorough examination. We do test nerves and do orthopedic tests to test joints. And oftentimes, if it's necessary, we'll take x-rays to understand exactly what's happening in someone's spine and what we need to do to fix it, right?
So it's easy to understand, and I guess a lot of people probably walk through your door expressing that they have headaches or neck pain or back pain.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the things that you come across that aren't obvious?
Sure. And I will say the vast majority of the things that we help that people don't think of chiropractic for, they didn't come for. B&I one time, I was so thrilled to tell this story of a woman that came in for her severe back pain. And a few weeks later, she came in, she said, can you close the door, please? And I said, yes. She closed the door and she started crying and said, I never told you that I was incontinent, right? I just had back pain and I wanted you to fix my back pain. And not only did her back pain go away, but she regained full control of her bladder, right? And that's a really big deal. And that's the type of stuff we see all the time. No, we don't advertise that we can fix those things because We don't always know that we can. What I know beyond the shadow of a doubt is that if your body is free of subluxation, right, interference between your brain and your body, it's going to operate and function at a higher level than it would otherwise.
What about digestive issues?
Sure. You know, a lot of times, right, I'm a, perinatal chiropractor, so I take care of a lot of pregnant moms and little babies. There's a lot of little kids in the greater Nashua area that call me the poop doctor because when they get backed up, they come see me. And there's some mechanical things that we actually
I have a feeling
do.
when my little grandson grows up, he will call you the poop doctor.
I
Right
hope
now,
so.
he's just the little guy who poops a lot.
It's a badge of honor. And I always keep spare clothes because it's inevitable that I'll get from one end to the other. I'm sure it'll get wrecked. So yes, digestive issues we help with, and it's not always just the chiropractic adjustment, but our advice for, like maybe you need to change some things that you eat, or are you getting proper sleep? Are you getting proper nutrition? Do you need supplementation? Is your body deficient in something? These are all questions that we love to answer and help people find natural health solutions.
So what about little babies and little kids? How would you work with a small child?
Sure, it's a great question. So by now, probably everybody's seen the YouTube clips and TikToks of chiropractic adjustments. That's nothing what a pediatric adjustment looks like. Most of the time it's sustained pressure, right? Through the birth of trauma and being cooped up in a womb for 9 months, things can happen. And those structural shifts in a baby's spine can happen too. And we're not talking about bones here. Babies don't even have bones. They have cartilage that will turn into bone. So the adjustments look, it's a contact, and it's a sustained contact. I like to say it's about as much pressure as you'd feel comfortable putting on your closed eyelid. So it's an incredibly gentle adjustment. Babies usually are pretty in tune with what's going on. And I love when a baby's like screaming their head off and mom's looking at me like, what are you doing? And then all of a sudden, like, it releases and the baby just like breathes and kind of relaxes. And it's a pretty cool experience. And yeah, I'm pretty lucky that I get to do that every day.
What about, how do you work with pregnant moms?
Great question. So I'm certified in something called the Webster technique. It's a specific chiropractic technique for pregnant patients. And the main idea here is that we're reducing intrauterine constraint, right? So, in addition to having a pretty high, like 67, 74% success rate in babies turning, right?
Yeah.
Which is not what I do. I don't turn babies, but what we do is reduce intrauterine constraint, meaning the uterus inside a mama's belly is, think of like a basketball, right? And that basketball is suspended by ligaments. You have your broad ligament and your round ligament and several other ones, and those connect to the spine and the pelvis, right? If our spine and our pelvis aren't properly aligned with each other, it's going to create this sort of scenario, right? And when that happens, it puts tension in different ways on the uterus. And now instead of being shaped like a basketball, it's imagine if I twisted an inflated balloon, right? It's going to change its shape. And often, so that is intrauterine constraint. So that can lead to a more difficult pregnancy. I always tell moms, breech babies that are upside down, they're not upside down because they're stupid and don't know where to be. They're going to where they have the most room to be, right? And likewise, when we see a baby get like manually turned at a hospital or an OBGYN's office, there's a very high probability that they're going to go back to where they were because they're not there because they don't know where to be. They're there because that's where they have room to grow and develop.
Who is your chiropractor?
Great question. For the longest time, it was Dr. Dave Lenatsis, my father, and now it's Dr. Johanna Newbold at Blue Zone Health, and she's fabulous. We are really lucky in Nashua. On the community Facebook pages, people always ask, like, I'm looking for a good chiropractor, and there's hundreds of comments and hundreds of recommendations, and there are fabulous chiropractors around Nashua, and we all do something a little bit different. And I think it's really cool that we have this culture of like supporting each other, where, even though we're, technically I guess we're competition, but we don't treat each other that way. And because of that, I think a pretty high percentage of Greater Nashua is under chiropractic care. And it changes the question from, who's your chiropractor or do you see a chiropractor to who do you see for chiropractor. And it just makes me proud that that's happening in Nashua and that we all work well together. And I would feel comfortable calling anybody around here and saying, hey, I got this going on. Can you take care of me?
Now, I hope you don't feel insulted by this question, because years ago, I had a really great person who cut my hair. And I made the mistake one day of saying, do you do dogs? And she was really mad at me. She felt like that was super insulting. But is there a such thing as pet chiropractic?
Absolutely, there is. Not something that I do. There's a postgraduate course that you can take with hundreds of hours. It's really, really huge in the equestrian world. As a matter of fact, it's really interesting. In horse racing, they had to make a judgment as to whether or not this was illegal performance enhancement, because chiropractic horses ran harder and faster than other horses, and it wasn't. But some good friends of mine from chiropractic school do animal chiropractic, and I've been asked on occasion I adjusted a sheep named Jeffrey who had gone lame, and it was a pretty cool experience.
Yeah, so not something you're looking for a bunch of people to bring their dogs and cats to.
No. I'm by no means an expert in animal chiropractic, but I can certainly refer you to some folks that are
locally.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, pets are such an important part of people's lives, and we talk about that whole social, emotional, surrounding yourself with community. Like, our pets also are a big part of what kind of makes us healthy and happy too.
Absolutely, and the science shows that. People with dogs, I don't know the statistics, but I know they tend to live longer or have like a higher quotient of happiness in their lives. Yeah.
Well, we're just about out of time. We could probably do this all day long.
I think we could.
And maybe we'll do this again.
I would love to.
But before we end, I did want to give you a souvenir from United Way, baseball
Awesome.
cap that we just got in.
Sweet deal.
There you go.
Excellent.
And I wanted to, thank you for your support in the community. What you do at Blue Zone Health is, I believe, also changing our community for the better in really, really some remarkable ways. So congratulations to you on that continuing evolution.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for your support, and we'll make a good team, Mike.
I think we do as well. So listen, this has been another episode of Living United with Nashua Business. We'll be back in a couple weeks with another great interview. But until then, please remember to be kind to one another, because great things really do happen when we live united.